Hey there, YouTube, is Boy Lipid out here with another reaction video. Today we got something special. Oppenheimer score. I think this is the behind the scenes of how Christopher Nolan and their team built the score for Oppenheimer. So yeah, let's get right into it, shall we? Hit it.
Music, Robert.
Yeah, and this is one of the things, like, when you watch Oppenheimer and this is it's not exactly an autobiography, but it's more of like, the background, and it's a cinematic representation or kind of interpretation of what, the life he lived, and, the dilemmas and the quandaries he had to go through. So it's interesting, conundrums, but it's interesting to see, like, the way the music felt powerful, but also very confused at times. I think that's one of the more beautiful things about the score, in my opinion. But yeah, no, I always remember it's one of those things that sticks with you even long after the movie, because it is an audio masterpiece, in my opinion, at least.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer is a visual masterpiece.
Right.
I felt like this movie was really pushing the boundaries in so many different fields. So I wanted to see how we can do that with music as well.
I had no preconceptions about the music for the film.
Which is actually a really good thing. I know directors and, a lot of people almost, come in with the idea of this is exactly what I want and this is exactly the vision I want. But I can also understand with an interpretive film, like the movie that you're doing on like a historical figure, you want to come in with an open mind to, keep an eye out for like, okay, this might be the best kind of tone or music that might fit the character, but you don't really know what you don't know. So you might as well just see all your options and hope that something comes up that you think would, match the situation. So I think, yeah.
So did you have an idea for the soundscape of the world or the rhythm?
Go back a bit.
So many different fields. So I wanted
Ludwig Göransson, okay.
to see how we can do that with music as well.
I had no preconceptions about the music for the film. Sometimes you have an idea for the soundscape of the world or the rhythm of it, and sometimes you don't. And in this case, all I had that I gave Ludwig was the idea of basing the score on the violin.
There's so much in the performance of the violin. In seconds, you can go from something beautiful to something completely horrifying.
There's a new...
Okay, yeah, that is true. And I understand. I don't understand the intricacies of what, the exact tonation, the way they're actually using the instrument to get there. But it's true. Violin can go from a very normal instrument to terribly horrifying in like just within that same tone itself. And I think it's a beautiful, representation of Oppenheimer, because it's all the triumph of getting what you need done and the slow, gradual realization of what you've actually just done. You've changed the world and you think it's for peace and security, and then you see the aftermath of what you've created. Well, of course, it is, of course, I have to preface this by saying it's unfair to just put all the blame on one person. It is the entire the American industrial complex that came together to build the bomb, of course.
To the sound in a way that I think fits the highly strung intellect and emotion of Robert Oppenheimer very well.
Right.
We wanted a handmade feel using real instruments, but also synthesizers that Ludwig can manipulate so expertly.
There's a scene there in the beginning when they're visiting us almost for the first time. The way I was thinking about the music there was almost to think you're on a different planet. And that's also why the musical tonality changes from like this organic palette to more of a alienistic score.
I never thought of it like that. That was interesting. And I think that could be up to interpretation. I think because the way when I saw the movie, I think the first thing that I kind of gravitated to when you hear that score with that scene was that, oh, it's an unfamiliar place. It's an unfamiliar setting. That was kind of where my mind went. But I can see where he's coming from.
I used a lot of synthesizers, but the heartbeat of the music is all organic. Chris called me one day, he's like, hey, can you write a 30-minute courtroom trial piece of music? And I was like, okay. Chris had an idea of scoring that scene like an action movie. And I thought that was something very interesting.
We would take his experiments and we would put them to picture and edit them and try different things and show it to Ludwig. And
right, I think this is this really rotates back to what Hans Zimmer told when he was working with Nolan, which was there's sometimes when you have the video, the footage that you have, there are sometimes you create the audio, the song just itself, And there are very rare instances where you merge the two together, align them perfectly, and you kind of can no longer distinguish where the scene starts and the music begins. It would seem as though the scene could not have been done any other way with that kind of song and that kind of background of video playing. And I can see where he's coming from. That's special because it's such a rare kind of combination to get to that. And oftentimes in most movies they compromise. They don't even try getting there. Just like good enough, close enough. That's it. Let's keep moving. But here they were adamant that they wanted to do something like that. Is my best guess.
Go and bring more things to the table.
Right.
One of the things that was really inspiring with this was when Chris invited me to come to see visual effects that they were creating. I think what they did sparked a lot of ideas in my head. And that's where the idea for the montage came from. I had this pattern, and it's played by the violins, but I wanted it to go faster and faster and faster and faster the whole time. But then the tricky point was, how can we record this live? They go from a tempo change from 180 BPM to 350 BPM within 2 minutes. It would have been easy to just have stopped every 2 bars. We did that too, but you don't get that magical flow that you only get with live musicians playing together in a room.
Right, and that's interesting. Okay, that's fascinating the way he says that, because he's not wrong. Yeah, he's absolutely right. If you've tried ever doing like stop motion and you thought, hey, I want to speed up this character, and you do kind of stop the recording multiple times and you try stitching it together, often, not always, but often it doesn't feel right. It's slightly jittery, slightly off. And sure, you can code it off in editing maybe. I'm guessing in audio it's the same thing. But the whole point of even getting to that, that reproduction of that particular, symphony that you want for that scene, I don't think there would have been many other ways, but instead of actually doing it, actually having the musicians together and actually playing it through. And I can imagine 180 BPM is already, it's fast. Imagine going to 360 would have just been, and it's a very memorable part of that score, which is where it just keeps getting faster and faster and faster. And it's even getting more and more triumphant as it gets closer to it.
Where there's 40 people doing their own tempo adjustments in their heads, so you can still hear like some friction, and that energy really affects the recording.
Yeah.
We worked on this piece for a week, every day, and tried and played it over and over and over again, and the results are marvelous. They were also excited about it, grateful, and like, oh, I can't believe we did this.
I think Ludwig's work on the film really achieves an enormous amount of the effect of drawing the audience into the emotional dilemmas of the characters.
Right.
I think he's really put together a very remarkable score.
It is. I don't know. There's just something about that score. I don't know if it's just just the way it's put together, or it's the way that the first time you're seeing the score is when you watch the movie. But it is incredible. When you watch the movie, you're done watching the movie. I personally feel the score stayed with me longer than the movie did. It's one of those rare movies where I think the score was equally important, if not even more important, in setting the tone for the movie. It would feel like I couldn't even imagine the movie without the tonations of the background songs. Like, if it wasn't there, it could be a more hilarious movie. It could be a more of a straightforward comedy, even. But the music sets the tone, and I think in Oppenheimer they nailed that for sure. You see Robert Downey Jr. You see the way certain characters play and be molded throughout the course of the film, and the eventual climax of the film, which is just, and you think you've already seen the climax of the film, and then you see where things went beyond that, and then it all connects back to the first scene in the movie, which is, in my opinion, a masterpiece. I mean, it's Nolan. It's unfair to say that's what I expect, but he's right. I think it's the biggest compliment to tell someone that your biggest expectations from them are only higher, and I expect a lot from a Nolan film. That's the biggest compliment I can give. So yeah, that's the reaction. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and subscribe. And this was Oppenheimer's score, background, behind the scenes kind of a thing. So yeah, that's about it. Catch you beautiful bastards to the next one. Peace. Take care. Nice.